I was an e-bike hater. I did not have a positive experience with e-bikes early on, and it was because I was in the middle of a gravel ride. I used to live in the suburbs outside of Chicago, and we were on a night ride, and we were all really into it. You know, it was a club ride, and we were dancing around thinking about all those Strava badges in our heads. We were on a Strava segment called the Orange Crush, and everybody was just crushing it. So all I'm doing is trying to not fall down, watching my light line on the trail and not run over anything that would knock me over. So I'm really into it. And all of a sudden I hear this subtle hum coming up on my left. And then I see a headlamp coming up on my left. And bam, an e-fat bike pass us like we were standing still. And my ego, of course, didn't like that at all. I was like, wait a minute. Doesn't he know we're on a Strava segment? This is the Orange Crush. He's cheating, he's cheating. And it wasn't until we sat down after the ride and I heard his story. We had a couple beers and he was telling me about all the wonderful places that he was riding his e-fat bike. He had been to Banff on a 40-mile ride on technical terrain, and he had ridden farther and harder into places that he never could have ridden before on his typical fat bike or regular mountain bike. And he had ridden in the Sierras and all over the country, the Rockies, and I thought, this is really intriguing. This is really inspiring. And so much so that I contacted Trek, and I had an idea to create a 30-day challenge. And the challenge was to replace my car with an e-bike so that I can see if I could save some gas, run my errands, and boost my everyday activity. And they accepted the challenge, sent me a supercommuter, and the rest is history. What I learned along the way for me was very fascinating. First thing I learned was it wasn't cheating. Immediately I got on the bike and I thought, oh, I used to think that you just get on a bike and you don't have to pedal like a motorcycle, right? Well, I learned, okay, you do have to. In order to move forward, you've got to move forward. You've got to pedal. So I learned all about the pedal assist. Next thing I learned and was so blown away by was the range of assistance. I could not have any assistance at all and push hard, or I could have a little bit of assistance in eco mode, or I could go turbo, full-blown turbo with a big smile on my face and have a ton of assistance. So just in a matter of time, in a matter of minutes, my perception started changing about e-bikes. And I went from just hating it to thinking, this could be a really cool thing. My first ride experience with the supercommuter was after a really hard race. I rode the L Tour to Tucson. Has anybody ridden that before? Big race down in Tucson, 2,500 cyclists. I did the 50-mile. I pushed really hard. I had a great day, but my legs were just, and they always have this art tour, this social tour ride the next day. It's called the Untour to Tucson. And you go down to the center of town and you ride around casually to all the art murals on the walls. There's lots of murals on the walls, beautiful. You learn about the artists. I thought this is a great opportunity to ride the e-bike for the first time. I'm 10 miles from downtown. My legs were trashed. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to use turbo. So I put the turbo on. I ride downtown 10 miles. I'm there quickly, right? Not a scathing issue with my legs. My legs feel fantastic. I turn the assist off. I tool around. I learn about all the artwork. Lots of people are asking about the bike. I'm like, this is really cool. And then I ride back on turbo. And just in the matter of one day with my e-bike, I figured out this is a fantastic recovery tool for fit cyclists, for fit athletes. Right away off the bat, that was bingo for me because that's my world. Moving on, I also learned that, or also found that I drove less, I explored more, and met a ton of people, met a ton of enthusiasts, people that were excited about it, but also people that had their own stories. I used it personally to ride to the trailhead, to run. I'm a runner, hiker, cyclist, so just to warm up, to get to the trailhead, I'd park it, lock it, go do my hike, come back and recover. Same thing to the gym. I do a little bit of CrossFit, I go there, I don't want to burn myself out because I know I'm going to work really hard at the gym. A little bit easy ride, eco assist or turbo assist on the way there, turbo assist on the way back, great transportation. Again, didn't have to use my car. I just began to find little ways and little pockets of life to really use the e-bike because I wasn't able to use my car. People that I met along the way. unbelievable. An Army veteran, first guy I met, was coming back from active duty, had hurt himself, very big depression, and he was using it not only to work through his depression, but also to work through his rehab and his injury. A woman that has Lyme disease, who has, I don't know if anybody knows about Lyme disease, but you go through these episodes of where your body just flares up. It's almost like arthritis. So she uses the e-bike. When she has a flare, she uses more turbo. When she doesn't, she uses more eco. Just a ton of people that are using them on vacation. I have a client of mine who runs, and she went on an active bike vacation, and she's not a real big cyclist, to Croatia, her home country. You get off the boat in Croatia, and all the mountains are this steep. She was using an e-bike to do that. Now she travels exclusively around the world on these e-bike trips. So tons and tons of people. A coach that rides with his athletes, a marathoner that uses it for cross-training. All these people that kept coming into my life, and all of these stories, more importantly, kept coming into my life. Lots of them fit active people that were using the e-bike in so many different dynamics. One of the more profound changes that I had in my life was my shopping habits changed dramatically. I used to be one of those type A shoppers where I'd go, I'd have my list, I'd fill the cart with everything I needed for the week to get it out of the way, and then bring all the groceries home once a week. Just go, fill the car, fill the groceries, head home. Well, now I had a limit to 2 bags, right? 2 e-bike bags that I had to use on my bike. So what I found myself doing was going with a smaller plan of 2 to 3 days of food, 2 to 3 days of meals for my husband and I. And what ended up happening is, rather than just tossing the Doritos and everything else that happens to fall into my cart when I shop big, I ended up really being more precise with what I was eating, what I was shopping for. Specifically vegetables, fruits, proteins, and staples. That's the only thing I could fit in, and that's the only thing that we could eat. And what ended up happening is we were eating in these 2 to 3 day cycles. We'd plan, we'd cook those meals, we'd eat those meals, and then I'd go back to the grocery store 2 to 3 days later. So the foods were healthier, they were fresher. We ended up saving about $80 a month that month on groceries. And that habit has stuck. It has stuck. It has changed how we eat in our life, and it has changed how we eat in our family, because it really makes a lot more sense to only shop for what you need rather than tossing in everything else. It made it more of a mindful process. I moved a lot more. Early in my career, I started off in corporate fitness. I was the director of the fitness center at Discover Card in the Chicagoland area, and I was always moving. We were either exercise testing people or teaching classes up and down, all around, all day long. A little bit later on, I started a coaching company in Chicago, Chicago Endurance Sports. We were training triathletes, we were training runners, marathoners, athletes all day long, out on the lakefront path, all over the place, active, active, active. Well, the last 10 years of my life, I have been living a bit of a schizophrenic existence professionally. I'm either sitting, creating content, writing or podcasting or blogging or anything creation-wise, or I'm creating active vacations for people. So I'm either out in the Alps hiking, or I'm home sitting and creating content. And what I found over the last couple of years, especially the last 5 years, is my body started to really ache. And I thought, oh boy, I'm 52, here we go, this is what they talk about, the aches and pains are coming, I'm getting old, oh, this stinks, I can't believe it. Well, interestingly enough, it wasn't just in a month, but within this first month challenge, I did start to see, because I was moving more, the aches and pains really subsiding because I wasn't sitting enough. One of my goals with this challenge was to boost my NEAT factor, my non-exercise activity thermogenesis. NEAT is an easier way to say it. So anything outside of sleeping, eating, or sport-like exercise. And what I found was I was able to ride and do my errands, right? Go to UPS to ship my packages, go to anything, shopping, to the gym, any kind of errand. I would used to ride to Starbucks. And eventually I'm like, oh, there's a lot of coffee shops in Tucson. I think I'm going to explore. So I would end up riding a lot farther. And what that transpired was I was able to get my creative juices flowing before I went to that coffee shop to go sit down and write for the rest of the day, when I was done riding, I'd come back and kind of defrag and de-stress after a day of work. So profound effect on my NEAT factor. I was able to boost my activity during the day, and I can happily say right now I don't have any aches and pains because I'm still riding that e-bike. Still riding the e-bike daily, and I still make a plan of moving regularly during the day outside of my regular exercise. So I went into this challenge thinking, gosh, you know, maybe I'll save some gas money, maybe I'll save some miles on my car, and really what happened was it boosted and improved my quality of life, and I didn't really imagine that. I had no concept of what kind of effect the e-bike would have on me. I work in the field of fitness, and oftentimes it's really hard to explain to people what an e-bike is. But once you get going, once you get them into a story, it really makes a difference. They start to think, maybe I can fit in that realm. Maybe it is interesting. I have a funny story. I was riding to the gym. It's a 7-mile ride, and it's in an area where a lot of the pro cyclists train and a lot of the fit cyclists train. It's in the foothills. And I was heading out. Of course, I was in turbo mode because I was warming up to get to the gym. Now here I am in my floppy sweatshirt with my hoodie on back, my big old sweatpants making all kind of drag, my tennis shoes, and I'm hammering up this foothill. And I see a cyclist ahead. He's kitted out, he looks really good, everything matches, he's pushing really hard, he's riding probably 23 miles an hour up this steep hill. And of course I have a smile on my face because I love my e-bike. And I go up next to him, and I look next to him, and I go, great job. And just hammer up the hill beyond him. Oh my gosh, you could see it in his face. He was not happy, just like I wasn't happy when I was passed. And the race was on. We spent 7 miles. He would pass me, I would pass him, he would pass me, I would pass him. I, of course, had the limiter of 27 miles an hour, so I couldn't catch him on the downs, but he would hammer down, I would hammer up. And we finally got to a red light at the end of it all. And I thought, oh no, this is going to be an interesting conversation. And I pulled up, and he actually had a smile on his face, and we had a great conversation about how I use the e-bike. You know, I told him I was a cyclist. I ride road, I ride mountain, I ride gravel. I'm a huge cyclist, but this is how I ride elsewhere. I would prefer this mode versus my car. And he really understood the concept of that. He was like, I think my wife would really like that. I think it would be fun to commute. And you could see the wheels turning in his head because he was a fantastic cyclist. So I think, you know, sometimes we go and we think about, oh, this person's never going to dig it like I didn't dig it, or you're going to hate it and everybody's going to hate this concept. But I think just bringing the experience into their life makes a big difference. I went from a hater to a believer, and it only took an inspiring story and a test ride, truly. I mean, it was minutes before it really clicked with me, and I understood it. I didn't understand the concept of what an e-bike was, and once I did, and once I got on it, the rest is history. I just fell in love with it. I think e-biking has changed my life for the better, again, like the quality of my life. I went from living a fit lifestyle. I was a little fatter then too. Took a couple pounds off. But I went from a fit lifestyle to a healthy, active, fit lifestyle. It really rounded out my wellness, and it, again, has had a profound effect on my life. And I think the key to talking to fit cyclists, to bring back to the topic today, is really sharing those stories. We all have stories. Everybody in here has probably got an e-bike story, or you've heard an e-bike story that's inspiring. There's so many stories and so many applications that I think if we begin to communicate that, whether it's video or podcast, or just sharing it in a community, test rides, things like that, I think exposing them to understanding what it is makes all the difference in the world. And also specifically to a fit cyclist, I think we're at some point our egos get involved with it, and we think that we're going to have to do that instead of doing what we normally love doing. It's really a complement to what we're doing on the bike. It's not taking away, it's not either or, it's a complement to what we can do on a regular bike. And I think if we come in and around on that approach, there's so many applications. Now I use it for recovery, I use it for workouts, because I know I can go out just like a running workout and do a tempo interval workout where I can go easy, I can go up a mountain and go easy, and then I can go really hard. And then I can go easy and I can go hard, and I can control it right then and there. Whereas before, I never would have dreamed of using my e-bike for a workout. I was thinking, oh, it was going to be a complement or a supplement. So I think you can build into that. There's so many applications. It's not just an old person's bike. It's for everybody, and it's so much fun. You guys know this already. One of the things that I think, too, is that it opens up, it's not cheating. I learned that. I mentioned that. But it opens up so many opportunities to ride farther, to ride faster, to move more like it did for me, to ride to beautiful destinations and open up your world, to recover more optimally, especially for fit cyclists or fit athletes, to drive less, for me with my writing and creation, or work for commuters, to boost your creativity before you get into work, get that energy going, get the circulation going, to improve mobility, which is a huge factor in our world of sitting. We're all sitting now. We're not meant to sit. We all know this, working in this industry. So just to get up and be able to be mobile and move around makes a huge difference in our health. To reduce stress. I mean, how many times have you been on your e-bike and not been smiling? Anybody? You just can't. I got bugs in my teeth. I can't get them out. To really up the level of riding and have everybody bring them all up on the same platform. I've got a couple of friends, that husband and wife team. She's a better cyclist than he is, and they live on top of a hill midway up the foothills. And they used to have to drive their bikes down to the loop so that they could ride, because they couldn't ride back up that hill. And now, not only can they ride together and get a good workout, because they can maximize their effort based on their skills, but guess what? They can ride down that hill and they can ride back up and feel pretty self-accomplished. So game changer for everybody, so many opportunities. I think the key really is the communication part of it, shooting videos, sharing videos, and then opening up their world to the opportunities. I'm no longer believe that it's cheating. I believe in the e-bike system, and I can't wait to try out the mountain bikes tomorrow. So thank you.